Blake's Tri-Pacer Part 3, No Power, No Worries, in Gainesville, Texas. Somewhere over Alabama, our panel went dark.
Here's what a pilot looks like when his airplane's broken.
When the power goes out in a small airplane, there is no reason to panic or call an emergency. Small airplanes are driven from their ignition by magnetos, and they have two of them, and actually two completely independent spark plug systems. So, not to worry too much about that. We continued our flight. The reason for a power outage like this could be miscellaneous reasons. As one, there could be a circuit breaker, and the circuit breaker actually threw, but the try to put it back in was unsuccessful. It threw again. It could be a faulty alternator or a battery that has run empty. So, but nothing to worry about. We will take care of that problem at the next landing. And fuel stop somewhere in the next 2 hours. And slowly we soared into the state of Arkansas. You might ask, is it really legal that you fly without power to the panel? The panel has all the radio and navigation instruments in there, and so you would think you cannot talk to the ground or to air traffic control, but as responsible aviators, we had two handheld radios with us, so we were able to talk. And to your information, it's perfectly legal if you fly in so-called Class G airspace. That means you do not touch the zones that are protected around airports or around military areas. So we were legal, and we were not too much worried since we could talk if we would have to. And we had a GPS that was battery operated, as you could see in former pictures. So, nothing to worry about. Enjoy the flight. situations like the one we were in, small airplanes are constructed in a way that you almost have redundant instruments. So what you saw in some of the pictures in the panel, the round gauges, or how we call them, the steam gauges, they are partially driven electrical and partially driven with under pressure or vacuum. That makes sure that if you lose power or if you lose your vacuum pump, you still can fly the airplane, like in the good old days when only those steam gauges were around and people could not even talk to the ground. And then we approached and crossed the mighty Mississippi. Small airplanes typically travel around 100 to 120 miles per hour, and if you fly in 4,500 feet, it looks almost as if you're standing still in the air. It is a great way to enjoy the landscape as it unfolds right in front of your eyes. Might have noticed on our adventure, we were flying through what we call the wet states. There is no drought there. It is plenty of water, and when you look at the flood basins of the Mississippi, it is almost unbelievable that you fly back into a state that is called golden but should be called brown because of all the brown earth in summer. Just enjoy the ride. And a few more stats for your information. If you cross the country from coast to coast, you have to cross about 2,400 miles. And in a small airplane, this means about 24 to 25 hours in flight. So it is quite a lengthy endeavor. And it is nice to have company. Cockpits of small airplanes are quite noisy, as you could hear on the few spots where I left the original tone in that the camera picked up. But pilots and passengers do not have to endure this noise all the time. As you could see, we both wear headsets and we talk to each other quite comfortably over an intercom. Some of the headsets are so-called ANR headsets, which means active noise reduction, where an electronic device generates a wave counteractive to the mind-numbing noise that the engine makes. So it is almost as silent as you can enjoy the pictures. As you might have seen, I zoomed in on some strips that are right out there, lengthy strips with numbers and markings on there. As a pilot of a small airplane, you always have to keep an eye on those landing facilities. Those are small airports. In this case, we have runway 10 and 18, which marks for the pilot the magnetic direction. The wind is supposed to come in the best case scenario from the opposite direction. So with 10, that would mean 280, almost from the west. And with 18, it would mean 360, which would be north. Pilots in small airplanes always try to recognize those landing facilities in case of emergency. If you fly at 4,500 feet, you have about 1 to 2 minutes that you can glide with the airplane, and you should better have found a flat spot to set the airplane down. Other than that, there is really nothing to worry about in a small airplane. We truly hope you enjoyed the ride with us today, and as we are approaching our next landing facility for our next fuel stop, we take in the landscape again and approach a small city. You will find out in the next clip soon what we found out about our problem on the ground. This was the stop that was supposed to solve the problem. And so we made an attempt, and we found actually on a Saturday somebody that was still active on this airport. But more of that next time.